Discover the incredible moment, CEO's heartwarming reaction to a girl's life-changing request. In the heart of a struggling Midwestern town, 12-year-old Julia Collins had an idea that sent ripples of hope through the community. She'd always admired Julia Roberts for her resilience and ability to inspire change. Now, Julia was poised to become a beacon of that very light for her own town. With her father's bakery teetering on the brink of closure due to his incapacitating injury, she knew she had to take action. The warm scent of fresh bread filled her senses as she clenched her pencil, ready to turn her school project on community leaders into something that could transform lives. As she created her email to Matthew Hale, the local tech giant, her heart raced. She proposed a mentorship program, an idea that could help families like hers turn their dreams into reality. A program that wouldn't just keep her father's bakery alive, but could breathe life back into the town where dreams were fading like unrisen dough. Help families rebuild their future, she wrote, pouring her heart into every sentence. We must embody the spirit of the American dream. This tender hope fluttered within her, igniting a fire that pushed her past the shadow of despair, but life in the town was uncertain. News spread that funding for Julia's school was at risk, leaving many of her classmates, who came from marginalized backgrounds, worried and anxious about their futures. Julia watched as her friends' lively spirits turned somber. Tears welled in eyes that once sparkled with promise. It was a hollow feeling deep in her chest. She couldn't stand by and let their hopes slip away. Fueled by her fierce love for her friends, she sent another email to Matthew, a reminder of the urgency for his involvement. We need change, she typed, determination lacing her words, but when his reply arrived, it didn't land as she had dreamed. With a mere wave of dismissal, he brushed off her heartfelt plea. Just another kid looking for a handout, read the words that stung like a slap. Julia felt indignation swell within her like a pressure cooker ready to explode. How could he not see the potential for change? The townsfolk murmured among themselves, their expressions of disappointment mingling with the weight of social inequality that hovered over them. At school, the atmosphere was thick with tension. The once warm walls echoed the silence of lost hope. Julia, her friend Kai murmured, lips drawn tight. What are we going to do? Her pulse quickened as she recalled the unwavering support from her family, the warmth of their love, their sacrifices for her to have a better life. It ignited something in her, pushing her to take the stage at the upcoming town hall meeting, a pivotal moment swirling with urgency. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Standing before the gathered crowd, her heart hammered against her ribcage. Every face was a canvas of expectation and skepticism, but all she saw was their shared struggle. Julia's voice broke through the murmurs, powerful and unwavering. Mr. Hale, we are not just asking for help, we're asking for partnership. We are stronger together. We're more than just a neglected town. In that moment, the air crackled with anticipation. Could she truly inspire him to make a difference? Would her dream of bridging the gap between social classes become a reality, or would it slip away like flour through her fingers? As the crowd fell silent, the weight of their hope rested on her tiny shoulders. Would they find a way forward? Together, or would the dreams of their community vanish into the ether? The answer hung in the air, tantalizingly out of reach, leaving everyone on the edge of their seats. Julia stood there, her heart racing as she watched Matthew Hale shift in his seat, the spotlight reflecting off his glasses. Was this the moment he would finally understand? The murmurs in the crowd simmered, a mix of hope and skepticism that swirled around her like the flour in her father's bakery. Every second felt like an eternity. Mr. Hale, she continued, her voice trembling yet strong. We can start small, just one workshop, one session, where our young people can learn about business, coding, or marketing. Imagine if you could help us spark just one dream. She took a deep breath, hoping the passion behind her words would spark something in him. Then, she could feel it a shift. The lines on Mr. Hale's face softened, as he glanced from Julia to the faces of the townsfolk. They leaned in, awaiting his response, eyes bright with fragile hopes. But then he narrowed his gaze, the weight of his public persona pressing in. "Julia," he started, his tone measured yet detached, "you're a bright young girl, but running a mentorship program isn't as easy as you might think. There are logistics, funding, and then help with funding." She blurted out, cutting him off. It was like a release valve had opened inside her. "You have the power to change our community. We just want a chance." The words spilled out, fierce with desperation. She could see her friends nodding slightly, and it urged her on. The murmurs transformed into a low roar as the crowd began to shift in their seats, energized by the fire she was kindling. Julia's best friend, Kai, squeezed her hand from the front row, silently conveying his unwavering support. She could feel the unity of the community building behind her like an unseen wall of strength. "Think about the kids in this room," Julia said, tears threatening to spill over. "We are more than our circumstances. We are full of ideas. Don't we deserve a chance to show that?" Matthew turned to look at the audience, his mouth moving but no words coming out. For a split second, a faint glimmer hung in his eyes, the prick of realization that here was a room full of potential, a town ready for renewal. But just as quickly, it seemed to flicker and extinguish. "I can't promise anything right now," he said slowly. "It's not that simple." The words hung heavy in the air, a curtain of disappointment falling between him and the very individuals he could uplift. Julia's heart sank. Deflated, she watched the flickering embers of hope begin to dim as the crowd's chatter grew murmur-like again. She wanted to argue, to push him to see their potential. But a wave of doubt crashed over her, crashing against her resolve. Was this where the journey would end? Just as her shoulders began to droop, a faint voice called out from the back, "What if we start the program ourselves?" A ripple of murmurs flared again as someone else added, "Yeah. We can find volunteers." Julia's heart leapt. It could work. Could they really do this together? Her eyes darted to Matthew, half expecting rejection, but this time, there was a hesitation in his expression. Had her spirit ignited a spark in him after all? As the crowd erupted with suggestions and ideas, each one louder than the last, Julia felt a surge of unity. Perhaps they didn't need to wait for someone to rescue them. Perhaps they could become the change they so desperately sought. But a chilling thought crept in, a question left unanswered. Would Matthew Hale realize that his involvement could be key to their success, or would he turn away when the weight of commitment bore down? The meeting buzzed with excitement, but the doubt still lurked, threatening to overshadow their newfound determination. Julia stood at the edge of an exhilarating journey, but could they truly navigate through the fog of uncertainty ahead? The stage was set, but what would be the next step in their community's story? Julia took a step back, her breath catching in her throat. The energy in the room was electric, but it felt fragile, like a tightrope stretched across an abyss. She glanced around, taking in the expressions of her friends' hopeful, eager faces ready to take the plunge into uncharted territory. But what if it all fell apart before they even had a chance to start? Matthew Hale remained silent, his brow furrowed, still weighing the words that had turned the meeting into a flurry of animated discussions. The townsfolk were no longer just attendees, they were sparks igniting passion under the shadow of uncertainty. Julia found herself caught in a whirlwind of emotions, excitement mixed with a tinge of fear. She knew they had to move quickly, or risk losing this moment. "Julia," Kai's voice broke through her thoughts, steady and calm. "Let us not wait for him. We can organize ourselves. We can ask our parents, teachers, our neighbors. They might see what we see." His words sparked a new kind of determination in her. "No, we can't do this alone," Julia replied, glancing back at Matthew. "He has connections, resources. We can't let this opportunity slip away because of pride or uncertainty." The crowd's murmurs began to quiet as they listened to her. But what if he just turns us down again? Someone shouted from the back, the tension thickening in the atmosphere. Then we keep asking. Julia shot back with fervor, her heart racing once more. We're a community. Let us show him what we're made of. Let us prove he's wrong about us. Matthew shifted in his seat again, and in that moment, Julia saw something in his eyes. Hesitation. A hint of understanding. Or perhaps it was the realization that this town, this room full of young dreamers, held more power than he anticipated. What if we create a plan? She suggested, letting her voice ring with more confidence. We can draft proposals on what we want to achieve, who we can bring on board, and present it again. The crowd brightened at her suggestion, and soon a flurry of ideas erupted like fireworks. Hands shot up, eager to volunteer skills, to brainstorm topics, to call contacts. Julia could feel the excitement rising like dough in the bakery. Even Matthew was beginning to sit up straighter. Perhaps. His voice wavered. Perhaps a meeting with plans in hand would be more productive. Julia felt a wave of relief crash over her. It was a small step, but it was something. With each passing second, doubt began to dissolve, replaced by a collective sense of purpose. People were offering to lead workshops, collaborate with local businesses, and even reach out to other towns for mentorship connections. As ideas blended and laughter erupted in bursts throughout the crowd, Julia felt her heart swell with happiness. This was a community that cared. But with every agreement that followed, a nagging thought tugged at her mind: what if they didn't succeed? What if their dreams crumbled under the weight of reality? As Julia gazed across the room, meeting the eyes of her friends and neighbors, she made a silent promise. They would give it their all, they would not falter. The meeting continued into the early evening, a cacophony of shared dreams and whispers of hope. Each idea, each plan formed a tapestry that bound them closer together, but even as she felt the thrill of possibility around her, Julia's gaze drifted to Matthew. Would his heart truly open to their cause, or would he retreat into the shadows once more? Just as she was about to call for their next meeting, a text buzzed in her pocket. It was a message from Kai: "We need to find a way to bring him in. He's the key." As she noticed Matthew watching her intently, an idea flashed into her mind, a bold move that could change everything. Would she dare to take that next step? Julia felt her heart race anew, and with it, a surge of determination. What awaited her in the next moments could alter their entire future. Would she be able to convince Matthew to believe in them, or would she risk it all? As the evening shadows crept through the windows, Julia felt the weight of the moment settle on her shoulders. She stepped forward, away from the swirling energy of the crowd. The noise faded as her heartbeat thundered in her ears. She could feel the eyes of her friends on her, their hopes resting in her hands. "Matthew," she called, her voice steadying as she took a deep breath. "Can I talk to you for a moment?" The room grew quiet as everyone turned to look at him, and Julia felt the gravity of the situation. Matthew hesitated, the lines on his forehead deepening, but after a moment of contemplation, he nodded and stood up. She led him to a corner of the room, away from the prying ears and curious glances. Julia could feel her heart racing, pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. "Look, I know this isn't easy," she started, trying to gauge his reaction. "You have your reasons for being hesitant, but we want to make a difference here." Matthew crossed his arms, shifting on his feet. "And you think I can just make that happen with a snap of my fingers?" He nearly sneered, but in the depths of his eyes, she glimpsed something softer, a flicker of uncertainty, perhaps. "What we're trying to do is build something real," Julia pressed, leaning in slightly, unwavering. "We all care about this town. I've seen it in how people banded together tonight." If you could see that he looked away, staring at the wall as if it might provide guidance. "I get it, Julia. But you need to understand that I have a lot on my plate." "This isn't something. It's not just about you," she interrupted, her voice catching. "It's about all of us, the youth, the future. If you believe in us, we could do something amazing together." Matthew narrowed his eyes, assessing her. The silence stretched between them, thick with tension. Julia could feel a lump rising in her throat. She had never been one to be so vulnerable, she hated that the stakes felt too high. "Why should I?" Matthew finally asked, softer this time. "I don't see it. I don't see you guys pulling this off." "Because we're willing to try," Julia said, her voice trembling with sincerity. "Because we're asking for your help, not waiting for you to give it to us. We can bring our ideas to life. But we need you." Matthew's brow furrowed as he weighed her words. The room reverted to a low buzz of anticipation, each person waiting for their leader to respond. Julia sensed the eyes on them, curious, anxious, and hopeful. He glanced over Julia's shoulder, scanning the audience, and she held her breath, praying for a sign that he'd crack. "Fine," Matthew said finally, his voice low but firm. "But I want to be pushed into something I don't believe in. If we're doing this, I expect full commitment. For everyone." Relief flooded Julia, and a smile broke across her face. "You have it. We'll show you what we're capable of." "Don't think this guarantees anything," he cautioned, still guarded. "Just give us a chance." With that, she felt a swell of gratitude toward him, but a different wave of anxiety washed over her. Now came the part where ideas needed to take shape, an actual plan that could capture Matthew's attention and ignite interest. As they returned to the group, Julia's chest tightened with a new urgency. They had to be ready. If they could make this work and prove their worth, maybe, just maybe, they could transform their community into something extraordinary. Everyone stood, waiting with bated breath. Julia grasped the chance to rally them together once more, but a sense of doubt nagged at her. Would they really be able to meet Matthew's expectations? "All right, everyone," Julia called out, her voice ringing through the room. "Let us strategize. We need our best ideas now." But as she looked into the eager faces that surrounded her, she couldn't shake the thought, could they really pull this off, or would they crash and burn under the pressure? The stakes were higher now, and in that charged moment, Julia knew they were entering a new phase, one that could either elevate them or break them apart. Would the fire of their passion be enough to light the way, or would doubt extinguish it before they even began? The room buzzed with energy as Julia scanned the faces in front of her. They were all eager, hopeful, yet palpably anxious. She could almost hear the wheels turning in their minds, the weight of expectations hanging heavy in the air. "Okay, everyone," she took another deep breath. "Let us brainstorm. We need something powerful, something that catches attention like a spark that ignites a fire." Alice, Julia's closest friend, leaned forward. "What if we organize a community event? Something fun and engaging, an outdoor festival. It could showcase local talents and businesses. Maybe that would give people a sense of pride in our town." Julia liked the idea. Her mind raced at the possibilities. Yes. A festival. Think about it, music, food, local artists, everyone could participate. It'd be our community's heartbeat, bringing everyone together. Matthew stood off to the side, arms crossed but interest clearly piqued. "That's a lot of planning. Who's going to take the lead? You can't just throw together a festival at the last minute." A wave of hesitation swept through the group, doubt creeping into the corners of Julia's mind. She noticed their enthusiasm dampening. "We can do this," she insisted, urgency creeping into her voice. "We just need roles. Who's good at organizing? Who can gather donations or manage logistics? Let us get everyone involved." Mora, always the planner, raised her hand. "I can handle the organization. I've been part of similar events before. Just give me the details, and I can map it out." "That's great, Mora," Julia encouraged, sensing momentum in the room. "And we'll need someone for promotions. We want to spread the word online and around town. Can anyone take charge of that?" James piped up, "I've done some social media work before." I can create accounts and start getting our message out there. Julia felt a quickening pulse in her chest. Things were coming together. Perfect. And we can each chip in for the planning sessions. We'll meet every week, and each person can update the group on their progress. Matthew finally stepped closer. He regarded the group, still skeptical but visibly less tense. Maybe you do have a shot at this. But remember, set your sights higher than just a local music night. You need to aim for something different, something people will really talk about. Otherwise, it'll just be another event that fizzes out. The satisfaction in Julia's heart morphed into ambition as she processed his words. You're right. We need a theme. Something unifying. What about a celebrate our roots theme? We can highlight local culture and history while inviting creativity and new ideas. Alice chimed in, and showcase businesses that represent our community. Local foods, crafts, and stories. Each area could represent a part of our heritage. Excitement surged like an electric current through the crowd. The brainstorming session transformed into a flurry of ideas as they bounced off one another, voices overlapping in a tapestry of enthusiasm. Julia felt her doubts evaporate, replaced with the thrill of building something meaningful, but as the discussions continued, a nagging thought clung to the edges of her mind. Would they be able to pull it all off in time? The challenges loomed ahead, and self-doubt whispered insidiously, reminding her that ambition without execution could just as easily lead to failure. As the group wrapped up, Julia gathered them all in once more, her heart racing with anticipation. This is just the beginning, but I believe in every one of you. Together, we can create something that defines our community, something that makes a difference. Let us meet tomorrow evening to start laying out our plans. Everyone nodded, smiles blooming like flowers in springtime, but beneath the surface, Julia felt the pressure building again. It was one thing to get a plan rolling, it was another to see it through to fruition. Would they rise to the occasion, or would the weight of their ambition prove too much to bear? The answers lay ahead, shrouded in both optimism and uncertainty. As she left, Julia couldn't shake the thought, was she truly ready for the challenge, or was she stepping into a storm she could not control? The next evening felt electric as Julia gathered the group again. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a warm golden glow that seeped into the room where they met. Each face filled the space with a sense of purpose. Julia could feel the weight of the moment. This wasn't just a meeting, it was a mission. All right everyone, tonight is about planning the magic, she said, her voice steady but light. We have our theme, we have our roles. Let us dive into specifics. As they settled into their seats, Maura spread out a large piece of paper, sketching out a rough layout of the festival grounds. I think we should designate areas for food, entertainment, and community booths. We can create pathways connecting everything so it flows nicely. Julia nodded, impressed with Maura's attention to detail. That makes sense. And let us make those pathways beautiful decorations, maybe even fairy lights. The thought softened her heart. Alice chimed in, enthusiasm bubbling over. What about having local schools involved? They could perform, set up booths, or even showcase projects. It'd bring in families and get the kids excited. Yes. That would be fantastic. Julia couldn't help but smile at the thought of children laughing and performing their hearts out. As ideas shifted and morphed, Matthew brought an air of practicality back to the table. Okay, we need to think about costs. How much can we actually afford? Have we reached out to local businesses for sponsorship? James interjected, I can work on a sponsorship package to send out. If we show the businesses that this festival will bring in foot traffic and promote them positively, they might be on board. The plan felt more coherent now, taking shape like clay molded by eager hands. But doubt still flicked at the edges of Julia's confidence. And what if it rains? Or what if all our planning falls flat? Alice leaned in, her eyes softened with understanding. Julia, we can't control the weather. But we can control how we react to it. Let us have a backup plan, maybe an indoor venue if we have to. Julia took a deep breath, her heart swelling with gratitude for this group. That's brilliant, Alice. Let's stash options so we can stay positive no matter what happens. As they wrapped up discussing logistics for the festival, she felt a shift in the air. Excitement collided with anxiety. Every success was entwined with an unspoken fear of failure. The festival was becoming a living entity, but so many unknowns still loomed over them. Listen. Julia said, feeling the weight of her voice. We're doing something big here, and it's okay to be scared. We want to make this work. It's worth it. Her words hung in the air, and she watched as they took them in. Nods of understanding and murmurs of agreement spread around the room like ripples in water. After a moment of silence, Matthew broke it, his eyes glimmering with newfound determination. We've got each other's backs, and the town needs this. Let us give it everything we have. With a renewed sense of purpose, they began signing off on tasks. Julia felt her heart swell with hope, but it was overshadowed by that familiar whisper of doubt. Was it enough? Did they really have what it took to pull this off? As they left, Julia stood back and watched her friends. Each of them was fueled by passion and hunger for change. Laughter and friendly debates echoed down the hall, but that nagging feeling still lingered inside her. What if their effort wasn't enough? What if they disappointed the very community they aimed to uplift? She forced the thought aside, pushing ahead into the world outside. The next few weeks would test them all, and as much as she wanted to believe in a happy ending, Julia couldn't help but wonder, how would they handle the inevitable storms waiting just around the corner? The following weeks felt like a whirlwind for Julia and her team. Days blurred into nights as they hustled to pull everything together for the festival. Julia dedicated herself to staying organized and positive, but the weight of her doubts made her restless at night. The phone calls to local businesses resulted in mixed responses, which only deepened her sense of uncertainty. Some sponsors were enthusiastic, others indifferent. Julia often found herself staring at the listing of companies, heart-thumping, trying to push away thoughts of failure. One afternoon, while she was fixing lunch, Alice stopped by her house to discuss their outreach efforts. "Hey, how's it going?" Alice asked, her voice light. "Honestly, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed," Julia admitted as she stirred a pot of soup. "We've got some yes and a lot of maybes. I just keep thinking, what if we don't get enough support?" Alice leaned against the kitchen counter, arms crossed. "We're doing our best. That's what matters. We're doing something good for this town." As they chatted, Julia's phone buzzed suddenly. It was a text from Matthew. "Just got a call from the brewery. They want to sponsor the entertainment stage." The words lit a spark in Julia's heart. "That's amazing!" she exclaimed. "Every bit counts." They spent the rest of the day mapping out a plan to incentivize businesses and create visible excitement around the festival. Julia felt her spirits lift, each new idea coloring her doubts with a hint of optimism. That Friday, they organized a town hall meeting, inviting everyone to hear about the festival and how they could get involved. The community center buzzed with chatter as they set up chairs and prepared for the evening. Families began to arrive, and Julia's pulse quickened. Watching from the front, she felt her heart race as the room filled with all those familiar faces. This wasn't just about the festival anymore, it was about community spirit, connection, and hope. Diving into the presentation, Julia spoke passionately about their vision. The laughter of children, the smells of local food, the bright lights, she painted a vivid picture of what they could create together. Each clapping hand and nodding head ignited the fire in her chest. Could they turn this dream into a reality? As she wrapped up, she felt a wave of confidence wash over her. If we unite, we can create something beautiful. This festival isn't just for us, it's for everyone. The success of the meeting was palpable. Attendees lined up afterward, expressing interest in volunteering, sharing ideas, and even making last-minute pledges of support. As she looked around, Julia's heart soared. For every face in the crowd mirroring her enthusiasm, it felt like a shared commitment. The days flowed into one another, filled with planning and preparations. Julia collected decorations, finalizing contracts, and checking in with community groups. Each evening spent working together solidified their bond, and she cherished the laughter and shared struggles. But then, just as the festival approached, dark clouds rolled in. The weather forecast turned grim with a heavy storm expected that weekend. Her stomach twisted at the thought of everything they had worked for washing away. Amid the chaos, Julia gathered her friends one last time before the festival. The group huddled together, voices lowered. "We can make this work, right?" she asked, the doubt creeping back into her voice. Matthew nodded, a supportive look on his face. "Of course we can. Whatever it takes. We're a team." With a backup plan in place, Julia took a deep breath. The festival might not unfold exactly as imagined, but the spirit of their unity would shine through. As she stepped outside after their meeting, she clutched her notes tightly, feeling that familiar spark of resolve flicker back to life, yet, just as she felt that glimmer of strength, the wind picked up, howling through the trees, as if answering her doubts with a challenge. The festival was looming, and the stakes were higher than ever. Could they truly rise above the storm that threatened everything? Would the heart of the community survive the deluge? The day of the festival dawned gray and heavy, the air thick with the promise of rain. Julia stood by her window, watching the wind tear through the trees. She clutched her coffee mug tightly, hoping to absorb some warmth from the steaming liquid. The festival was only hours away, and with every minute, her stomach squirmed more. Alice called just as she was about to throw on her jacket. "Breathe, Julia. We've got this. The tents are set up, and the volunteers are ready to go." "I know, but what if the storm hits while we're out there?" Julia replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "Then we adapt. Just like we planned." There was a hint of reassurance in Alice's voice. "And remember why we're doing this." The reason echoed in Julia's mind. This festival was meant to bring the community together, a beacon of hope, a celebration of spirit. They had poured their hearts into it, and now, as anxious as she was, she refused to let fear overshadow everything they'd worked for. As they drove to the community park, raindrops began to splatter against the windshield. She bit her lip, anxiety bubbling beneath her skin. Would anyone even show up if the rain kept up? When they arrived, the parking lot was a swirl of activity. Vibrant banners were flying despite the wind, and the smell of grilled food wafted through the air. Volunteers darted back and forth, some working to secure tent flaps, others setting up tables brimming with local crafts and baked goods. Julia took a deep breath, feeling the energy of her team surround her. She couldn't ignore the cracks of thunder in the distance, but there was laughter too. Children twirled around, shrieking with joy as they discovered activities and games laid out just for them. It reminded her of all the warmth she'd hoped to create. As the festival officially kicked off, she stood at the mic, her heart racing. "Welcome, everyone." Her voice carried over the crowd. "Today is about coming together, supporting one another, and celebrating our amazing town." The first few moments were filled with nerves, but the joy in front of her gradually pushed everything else away. She opened her heart to the audience, sharing stories of why this festival mattered. In that moment, the clouds above seemed to part, letting in tentative beams of sunlight. Then came the rain. It started as a sprinkle, soon turning into a steady downpour. Gasps echoed as colorful ponchos emerged and umbrellas popped open. Julia felt a lump rise in her throat as she watched children laughing, dancing in the puddles, while their parents sheltered under tents. It was chaotic and messy, yet beautiful in its own way. In the midst of the storm, she glanced at Matthew. He was smiling, drumming his fingers on the railing, clearly enjoying the unexpected twist. He caught her eye, and she couldn't help but grin back. They faced a wild challenge, but the spirit of the event thrived. Julia made her way through the jubilant crowd, catching snippets of laughter and delight as people embraced the rain. She felt hopeful. This wasn't the festival she had envisioned, but it was undoubtedly the one that the community needed. As she approached the entertainment stage, someone shouted her name. Turning, she saw a young girl with a rainbow-painted face running toward her, cheeks flushed with excitement. "Miss Julia!" she exclaimed, splashes of water dancing around her feet. "This is the best day ever." Julia knelt to the girl's level, her heart swelling. "Really? Even with the rain?" "Oh yes. I love it." The girl clutched a handmade sign that read, "Together we can." Tears prickled at Julia's eyes. Maybe this was the festival they needed after all, a celebration of resilience and joy in the face of uncertainty. But just as she turned to share the unexpected beauty of the moment with her team, thunder roared again. This time, it sounded eerily close. Would their joyful gathering withstand the storm that loomed both in the sky and within the community? The echoes of laughter grew louder, but doubts lurked in the depths of her mind, urging her to face the tempest head-on. The roar of thunder drowned out the laughter for a moment, a low rumble that sent a shiver through Julia. She looked around at the faces in the crowd, searching for solidarity. The volunteers, her friends, and even those colorful umbrella-clad parents were still smiling. It struck her that this wasn't just a festival, it had become a testament to their spirit. A loud clap of thunder echoed overhead, and the wind picked up. It whipped through the park with an unsettling force, sending a ripple of nervous energy. Julia's heart raced, but then she remembered the young girl's bright painted face and the "Together we can" sign she had held so proudly. She took a deep breath, feeling the strength of the community around her. "Hey everyone!" she called out, determination seeping into her voice as she stepped toward the stage. The rain splashed around her, yet it felt invigorating. This festival is about more than just our plans. It's about coming together when things get tough. So let us keep this going. Show the storm who's in charge. Cheers erupted from the crowd, and Julia felt the warmth of collective hope wash over her. Thriving in the moment, she grabbed the mic tighter. "Let us start our first dance party." A band of enthusiastic volunteers dashed to the stage, transforming the wetwood into a dance floor. Though hesitant at first, families began to step out from under their shelter, their laughter rising above the storm. Children giggled, dragging their parents into the downpour, and soon, the festival's heart started to beat, fueled by resilience and joy. Matthew found her in the chaos, drenched but beaming. "You did it!" he yelled, grinning ear to ear. "This is amazing. Who would have thought rain would turn things into this?" "I thought the rain would ruin everything," Julia admitted, feeling lighter as she let the water wash away her worries. "Or maybe it's making it unforgettable," he said, nudging her playfully. The festival erupted in laughter and joy as a conga line formed, twirling through the rain and mud. Julia joined in, the music blending with the pouring rain, forming a rhythm all its own. Everything they had planned seemed to pale against this vivid expression of community. The storm was no longer a threat, it became part of the magic, uniting them, but just as the revelry settled into a joyous rhythm, another loud crack of thunder jolted them. This time, it was much louder, shaking the ground beneath their feet. Julia glanced up, and for a brief moment, she felt as if the sky itself was judging them. There was something fierce and primal about this storm, and she couldn't shake a growing sense of dread. "Should we take cover?" a voice cried out, concern creeping back into the festive atmosphere. "No!" Julia shouted, shaking her head. "We're not giving in now. We've faced this storm together already. Let us ride it out." But in her heart, a new worry festered. What if this storm got worse? What if the festival was in jeopardy after all? The ground was shifting too, her emotions churning alongside the clouds. Just then, she noticed the same little girl, still dancing wildly, her enthusiasm unbroken by the thunder. Julia felt a flicker of hope ignite. If this child could embrace the downpour with such joy, then maybe there was still a spark of magic left if only they could keep it alive a little longer. With every heartbeat, she felt the stakes rise. Could they push through and hold on to this moment? Or would the storm wash away everything they had built? She opened her mouth to rally the crowd once more, sensing that something deeper was at play. The festival wasn't just weathering a storm, it was on the brink of transforming into something extraordinary, something that would bind them tighter than ever. But just as she prepared her words, another bolt of lightning split the sky. Would this festival withstand the fury of nature? And in doing so, what unshakable truths would emerge from their shared struggle? As the storm raged, something within Julia sparked fiercely to life. With every steady beat of her heart, she sensed the community around her shifting. The laughter merged with the rain, music intertwining with hope. Together. "We're stronger together," she shouted, fighting against the tempest's ferocity. The crowd roared back, their voices entwining like a chorus of unyielding spirit. The sky darkened, but Julia stood like a lighthouse in the storm. She felt electricity coursing through her, igniting the passion that had driven her to reach out to Matthew in the first place. This festival, this incredible gathering of souls, wasn't just about the art and food, it was about the resilience of her town, a living, breathing entity proclaiming its worth. Suddenly, a flicker, like a flame igniting, lit Matthew's eyes. "Julia!" he yelled over the chaos, stepping closer. "Don't let the storm take our spirit. Let us make this a rallying cry." His words sparked exhilaration in Julia's heart. She took a deep breath and met his gaze, drawing strength from his sincere belief. "You're right," she agreed, raising her arms. "Let us show this storm who we are." In a moment that felt both bold and reckless, she turned to the crowd. "Everyone. We are not only surviving today, we're thriving. Feel the rain. Dance with it. Let it be a part of our story." A few began to dance, and then the conga line returned with even more exuberance, swirling around her. Laughter erupted, and even the thunder seemed to recede, almost in awe of their unified energy. Julia didn't just see a crowd, she saw a family, a web of dreams and laughter, of hardships and hopes, weaving together under the downpour. As the rain soaked through her clothes, it didn't feel cold anymore, it felt like a baptism, washing away the doubts and fears that had lingered just moments before. The thunder continued to rumble, but every clap felt less like a warning and more like applause, a celebration of their togetherness. Her friends joined her up front, each of them shining in their own way, Alice flipping her hair back, Maura organizing activities, Kai spinning in delight with the youngest attendees. In that moment, Julia felt an overwhelming sense of pride. Through the rain and storms, they were showing the world the essence of who they were, a community unwilling to back down against the odds. As the festival continued to pulse with energy, Matthew stepped forward again, excitement illuminating his expression. "Let us push the limits further. We have a stage, how about we turn this into a talent show? Invite everyone. Let everyone's voice shine." The idea was a spark in the darkness. Julia felt her heart race again. "Yes. Let us do it." They scrambled, collecting local talents, singers, dancers, poets, everyone stepping up as raindrops fell. Just like that, the energy shifted into something magnificent. The storm became a mere backdrop to a tapestry of voices lifted in song and laughter, each performance adding color to the gray. As the crowd swayed, enveloped in unity, Julia realized they had created something beautiful amid the chaotic conditions. The rain cleansed their fears, and together they danced wildly, embracing their individuality and each other's support, a new beginning sown from the fabric of mistrust and vulnerability. The storm rumbled on, but the community stood strong, a whirlwind of laughter and warmth against nature's might. Tears pricked at Julia's eyes, but these were tears of joy, a realization that they had transformed this pivotal moment into a celebration of resilience. Hours passed, the storm wore down, and the skies began to clear. As the festival wound to a soft close, lights flickering in the now gentle breeze, Julia stood at the park, breathing in the cool, fresh air. She saw families packing up, kids holding hands with parents, smiles brightening their faces. Then Matthew approached her, a knowing smile gracing his lips. "You were incredible, Julia. You made us see what we could become together." Julia grinned in response. "I couldn't have done it without all of you. We really are stronger together." The sun broke through the clouds, illuminating the muddy ground, and with that, the colorful signs declaring "Together we can" shone like gems on the once dreary landscape. Julia looked around, her heart swelling with gratitude and hope. They had not only survived the storm, they had conquered it together. As the last of the festival gear was dismantled and laughter echoed into the evening, she turned to her friends, holding their collective dreams in her heart. This moment was only the beginning. "Let us keep moving forward," she said, voice full of determination. "Together, we can rebuild even more than just a festival." And as they began to plot out how they would lift their community beyond this one day of resilience, Julia felt the promise of tomorrow embrace her as softly as the evening sun. They would continue this mission, fueled by the love and support woven through each interaction, ready to face whatever storms dared to come. Now, here's where you come in. If this story moved you, subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire your heart. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread that positivity far and wide. We want to hear from you. Comment your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see the power of community and resilience in action. Only true fans like you can help make this channel thrive.